In this lesson, we're going to take a look at your optimization routine. What are the things you need to do on an ongoing basis to get better results? And to get better results simply means reduce costs. We want to minimize our spend in the areas where that are only attracting visitors that won't convert. And we want to increase our revenue. We want to get more potential buyers to our website. So before we dive really in, I want to suggest a meta optimization tip. And this is what I do. I always keep short notes of every change that I make. So for example, I increased the CPC by 10 cents and to get more visibility. And I will have a number of these notes each time I go into an account. And then next time I open the account, it actually gives me a starting point. I know what I did last time, or I remember that way, and I can see if it works or not. So it allows me to evaluate my efforts and get smarter about this. So I use a spreadsheet. You can also use a note-taking app or pen and paper or something like that. Some people like this idea, that's why I share it. Others don't. They think it's a waste of time. So see if it suits your efforts and if it helps, all the better. So here, this is the optimization pyramid. This is where the framework, where we'll spend most of our time, because this really will help your campaigns to move to the next level. So at first, you want to make sure that your account structure works. So in the days following a launch of a new campaign, you have to double check to see if what you intended to do is actually happening. So if you set up different campaigns based on brand, you want to make sure that this is working. I often do this because mistakes can slip through, and especially if you're setting up a lot of campaigns or are doing complex things, it's easy for a mistake to slip in. This is really the foundation on which everything else is built. So this needs to be 100%. Next are your keywords. And every click that you get into your campaigns is a potential negative keyword. So you want to be excluding as many keywords as you can. Remember that we looked at the irrelevant search queries. You want to take this out as quickly as you can. Want to look at the competitor search queries and those very generic ones. And if you've done both of those things, the fun part begins. I think this is the most difficult lesson in the course. And that's because I have this framework that you can follow, but it doesn't take you all the way. Because after you've done all of the basic steps, what you need to do next depends on what's happening in your account. Sometimes it's performing well, sometimes it's not. So I can't give you a step-for-step guide to your accounts. So in what follows, we're going to have to improvise a little bit more. Every time you're logging into your campaigns, you start off with a performance review. And this performance review basically will tell you what you're doing, like what changes you'll be making to which campaigns. So where to focus your attention, really. So when I start out, I always look at or my notes or at the different things that have been going on in the account. Like here, you can actually see a jump towards the end, where you had the blue line of the clicks going pretty steady, and then here we had like a jump. So what happened at that jump? Maybe you know it, maybe it was a change you made in your account. So that's already giving you a little bit of a clue. This is the place where it usually starts from. We're in the campaigns overview of your Google Ads account, and I've selected the shopping campaigns tab. So you can see here, there's 3 shopping campaigns. You have here the clicks, impressions, click-through rate, which is how many people click through after seeing an ad, the average cost per click, costs, conversions, and conversion value. If you're seeing something different, you can make changes here. Just go to columns, modify columns, and here you can actually add a lot of the different things. So you can see here, if you add things here, it will appear on the right hand side. You can drag and drop to put them in different places or close them. You click apply, and that will actually save those columns. So what do you look at? Well, I always look at cost versus conversion value, and to know if this makes sense or not, you need to know your numbers. You need to know how much you have to make for each dollar that you spend. So maybe it's 2 times, or maybe it's 3 or 4. It depends on your type of business. It depends on the margins that you have. I used to have a client and he needed to make $9 back for every dollar in revenue just to break even. So if your margins are that tiny, you have a lot of work for you. But here for this advertiser, he needs to hit a return of 2, which turns a profit. So we're kind of in a growth stage for this account. So we're not optimizing for the maximum return, but we need to have a profitable campaigns. So he needs to hit a 2. So you can see here, out of all of the enabled campaigns, we've spent about 1,200 and we made back 2,700. So times 2 would be 2,000, let's say 2,600. So we're just above this. So we still have some room to grow. Then this is overall for those 3 campaigns. Next, we actually want to look at the campaigns with the best ratio, because they're doing the best, and see if we can do more of that, and also at the worst. So here, this campaign, the top one, it spent about $800 and it made about 1,300 back. So actually below our target. While this one spent 200, made back 500. We're above the target. And here as well, we spent not even 300 and we made back 850. So the last one is very interesting. This one is also doing well, but that top campaign is actually spending a lot for the amount it's making back. So I would start here, because if we manage to improve this just by a little bit, it's got the majority of all the conversions. It's gonna have a big impact. So I'm gonna click through. We see here we have a single ad group, and here we have all of the different products. If we sort here on by cost again, we can see here we spent about 800 in total, and there's one product which has about 450 in spend. And about 900, so that's barely making the return. But here we see a product with about $121 in spend and not a single dollar in return. So if the account structure is sound, and these are the right products that show up, I know this is, I set this campaign up myself, and we filtered the search queries, which I also know has been done well then it comes down to that next level, and that's the bidding. So here we can see 0.55 in max CPC. So should we increase that to get more sales, or should we decrease that and run the chance that actually the number of clicks goes down, but the cost will also go down? So what do we need to change it to, and how can we be sure about what to change it to? If you're trying to change your CPCs and you're trying to decide what the best values are, you have to know what to change it to, right? So you want to set it high enough that you have enough clicks. Because, for example, if you launch and you don't have any clicks or any impressions, well, you know that you probably need to increase your CPC a little bit. So you want it high enough that clicks are coming in. But you don't want to set it too high, because if it's too high, well, you're just hurting your profitability. And the real answer is that you don't really know what to change your CPC to. A lot of it has to do with experimentation. That's why I said that I keep notes, because you don't always know what will happen if you raise it by 5 cents. Maybe that's enough. Maybe you need 10 cents. Maybe you need half a dollar change. So you don't really know what's going on. So experimenting is very important. So another way to learn what to do is to see what your competition is doing. And to do that, there's a couple of metrics in AdWords. And these are competitive metrics, and they will give you some clues on what to do with your own CPCs. In what follows, I'll quickly run through, and then I'll show you how to set this up in your own account. First is the impression share. And that's the number of impressions that you show up for versus the total potential impressions. So if you have 100%, you always show up. But this is really an indicator, not a goal. The goal is not to hit 100%, because showing up all of the time might actually not be very profitable, because a lot of those search queries probably don't have potential buyers behind them. A lot of them might be also just people looking for information. So for example, a 72% impression share means that you've shown up in 72% of all of the relevant search queries for your products. And if you don't show up for 100% of the searches, well, why is that? Well, there's two reasons. There's budget and there's rank. And if it's due to budget, it's pretty simple. It's simply because your budget is insufficient. Let's say there are a lot of search queries, and if you would want to appear for each one of them, you would have to pay around $200 a day. But your budget, you've only set your budget to $10 a day. Well, then you're only going to show up in part of all of those searches. The solution is pretty simple. You raise your budget. So if this makes sense and your campaigns are profitable, you can just increase your budget and see if you're still profitable after raising it. Let's now look at the second reason why you might not have 100% impression share. And to do that, I have to give you some background on the Google Ads auction system. For every single search that happens on Google, Google identifies which advertisers want to appear for that search and what advertisements they want to show. And that means which price does the product have, which title, the image, description, the landing page, reviews, etc. And from all of these data, Google actually calculates a quality score. And this quality score indicates how relevant Google thinks your product ad is for a specific search query. So that's one part, the quality score. Then they multiply that quality score with the max CPC, the maximum amount that you're willing to pay per click. And that results in the ad rank. So they do this for every advertiser and then rank all of the advertisers based on this ad rank. The one with the highest ad rank will show first. The second highest will show second, etc. And that way they rank all of the different advertisers. So if you don't show up because of rank, it means two things. Or your max CPC is too low, or your quality score is too low. And there's a couple of fixes for that. One is to simply increase your CPC. You have to know if it still makes sense. So in the example that I just shown you, I was at $450 and I made back $900. So that was at the top range of what I needed to make back in return on ad spend. So increasing that CPC, I don't know if that would be a good idea. What else can we do? We can increase the quality score. And we can do that by refining the search queries to improve the click-through rate. Remember that when we were looking at the negative keywords, we were excluding the very generic ones because they had a high search volume and a very low click-through rate. And whenever Google sees this, they see that actually your product, it's not a good match for that very generic search query. And your quality score will be low with that search. So by taking out these very generic search queries, you can actually improve your click-through rate, which will in its turn improve the quality score. A third thing you can do is improve the data in your product feed. This is something that we'll look at in the advanced optimization module because it gets complex pretty quickly. And fourth, you can simply make a better offer. We know that price that's the total price, which means the price of the product plus price of the shipping and or other costs attached to it. So Google looks at this, and if you have a better offer, if you have a better price than other vendors, you'll actually soar to the top. So price is a very important element in this quality score. Here's how to find the search impression share metrics in your account. Again, you go to columns, modify columns, competitive metrics, and there you select search impression share budget, and rank. Okay, so you can see them here. We have, on average, we have a 32% impression share. For one of the campaigns, we have 46. For one, we have 40. For one, we have 25. And then if we see why that is. So here we had 46%. 3% is due to budget. So if we raise the budget, we just show up more. But 51% is due to rank. So this is really the biggest part. So we have to know, we have to work for this campaign, we have to work on those last things, trying to see if we can increase the CPC or if we can improve the quality score. So you can see this at the campaign level, but we can also see this at the ad group level or even at the product group level. And this is really interesting on a product group level, because here we can see in those instances where we're showing a lot and we're spending a lot for specific products, we actually had a pretty high impression share compared to the average. So the average is 46, but here we have products with around 60 or even 65%, and also products that only score around 25%. So we have like huge fluctuations between these products. So that's important to know, because we're bidding the same, and actually for some products that means that we're going to the top of the search results and we actually show up a lot. But for other products, this same bid isn't enough to show even in a third of the instances. Impression share is the main indicator. We use it to see what potential there is. But Google Shopping offers two more benchmark metrics, and that's the benchmark CPC and the benchmark CTR. And these are two metrics that they get from aggregating a lot of other advertisers that sell similar products. And they present this in a way to, as a benchmark to see how you score. So you can also find them in columns, competitive metrics, and here you see benchmark CPC and benchmark CTR. So you can see this only on the product group level, and sometimes, like here, we can see it at the big level, but sometimes also if your product group is subdivided into multiple sub-product groups, you can actually see these metrics for those other ones as well. But there's a certain threshold that you need to see these metrics. So here, for example, we have the benchmark max CPC of $0.69. When we look at our max CPC, we see that it's 55. So advertisers with similar products, they bid a lot higher. And on average, they get about a 1.20% click-through rate. So here we are around 1.13, so we have a very similar click-through rate with a lower bid. So that indicates that we are kind of in the same ballpark than a lot of other advertisers. And a quick reminder, Google always tries to get you to spend a lot more, so you would be tempted to go towards this level very quickly, because that's what other advertisers are paying and maybe we should do the same. But I would really stay away from this, because I use it as an indicator and not really as the target to set it at. So if there's like a huge difference between the two, you might raise that a little bit, but it still has to make sense from a return on ad spend. That is conversion value over cost perspective. So if you're making the necessary returns, then you can think about increasing the cost per clicks to actually increase the visibility, increase the amount of clicks, and hopefully increase the amount of sales you get. When it comes down to optimizing your CPCs and using those competitive metrics, I use them like this. The impression share, I use it to show the potential. So if you're at 20% or below 10% or something, and you have a lot of clicks and some sales, it shows that actually there's a lot more to get, a lot more impressions to get out there. So it's worth investigating what happens if you were bidding up to that level and we're getting 50-60% impression share. What does that mean? for the amount of clicks, for the type of traffic that you get. So impression share really shows the potential. If you already see great results from having a 20% impression share, well, what happens if you have 100% impression shares? Can you just multiply your results and the sales you have times 5? Sometimes that's possible. Oftentimes, as you scale and as you increase your impression share, the cost also becomes higher. So you might not get that 5 times increase in sales, but you might get that 5 times increase, or you might get a 3 times higher return or something. So you have to really see that, and the impression share shows the potential. The lost impression share because of budget or rank metrics, well, they both hint at what to do. If it's down to budget, you raise your budget and you see if the campaigns will scale. If it's because of rank, well, it's because of the CPCs that you need to increase, or the quality score you need to work on, trying to make better offers or improving the data quality of your product feed. And the benchmark metrics really tell you how close you are to your competitors. So you can see that, let's say you're bidding 10 cents for each click, and you see that the benchmark max CPC is 75 cents. Well, and you have a low impression share. Well, then you know what you should try and do next, how you should experiment. What happens if you increase it to 50 cents, for example? How many more clicks do you get? How many more sales do you get? So these really help to decide, besides your own experimentation, these help decide which direction you can take your campaigns in. Here I'm in a different account. I've got 2 campaigns. One of them, so both of them have different search impression shares. So for one, we're at 37%, and for one, we're at 11%. So as you can see here, we have a return invested about 40 euros, made back 3 times, around 120. Here we spent 70 and we made back 320. So here we're about at a little bit below 5 times return, and here we're only at 3 times the return. And you can see that actually here we have a lot of impression share to cover. So we are making some sales, but even at this level, we can't afford to spend more, because we need to hit well above 5, and we're around 3 here for this one. And you can see nothing is lost to budget. So we have enough budget allocated, and this is something you'll see for most of your campaigns. But we have almost 89% lost impression share due to rank. So we can't increase the impression share. We can't increase the CPC here. So let's see at what else we can do. Open it up. Open up the actual products. And here we can see what is happening. So as I said, I'm going to sort by cost. And we can see that although we have a lot of products in this account, the top 10 already scores like below €1. So we have a couple of products that really pull in all the revenue. So for example, here we have one that spent €13 and that's made back 34. So we're at 51% impression share. So that's pretty good. So that wasn't pretty good. That's why we lowered the cost per click. So we were at 0.15 before, and now we lowered to 0.12 because we need to make back 5 times the amount. So let me sort of conversions to see what other ones might have potential. So here we actually saw that we spent 73 cents and we made back 55. So it could be valuable instead of this one where we barely made back not even 3 times. We might be able to spend more here because we only have an 18% impression share for this specific product. So it might make sense to spend more. So here if you click, that's a feature called the bid simulator, and you can actually see what will happen if you set a different bid. So we had around 12 cents. If I raise it to 16, 21, if I spend all the way up to €1, I will get 18 clicks and now I'm only getting 1 click per day, I think this is. But yeah, we're not interested in a lot of clicks. So here you can see I've spent 5 cents, 13 cents. So for these products, probably I could raise the CPC to try and make sure that I increase that impression share. So for example, at 15 cents, I was actually having 18% impression share. So I might do something like this. I change it to a 20. Same here. I wasn't even showing a lot, so here I'm gonna also just change it to 20. Here I was also making a very good return, not even showing for less than 10% of the impression share. I'm also gonna change it to 20. Okay. So now I've changed that, and I have to make sure that it could very well be that these products start spending like this, and I start spending like 13 euros for a very low return. So this made sense in about like a month's time, but it could very well be that this is not the best move. So for that, I need to let it run for, let's say, a week or something, and I will come back and see how this is performing. Probably I won't make another sale from this immediately, but I just want to pop in and see if it's evolving in the right direction, and then probably make a decision on whether to change this CPC again in about like 2-3 weeks time. Depends a bit how fast the data come in. So this is really the nitty-gritty stuff of the optimization routine. You make sure that your account structure is in shape. You go through your search terms report, filtering out all of the keywords, and then it comes down to bidding. You're looking at which campaigns, which product groups or products are spending, how much they're returning. Can you do more of the ones that are doing well, like this one? And can you do less or maybe even exclude or bid a lot lower from the ones that aren't doing well? And you just keep repeating this. And over time, your account will get stronger in the places that do deserve the revenue, and you will actually see that. For example, this product, we got 1 sale, but maybe this is not the right product to push really hard in shopping because it's not really profitable. It just attracts a lot of people to the site who aren't really ready to buy. So this type of thing is what I call your basic routine. And so these are the basics. And if you do these well, your account will already improve by a lot. But it could be that it's still not enough and that you need more in-depth tactics to improve your results. So to do that, I've created another module which is called the Advanced Optimization Module, and it will take you through more optimization tactics you can use to really get better performance.